Hey, what's going on, y'all? It is back again, me, Dakota, Modern Man, and these are just some questions I had mainly for people that usually I like meet for the first time, especially on maybe a social media app, and um, it's really for the fellas, but ladies, you can also ask these similar questions too. These are the type of questions I'm trying to ask immediately when getting to know someone. I'm not trying to beat around the bush. I'm not trying to do a whole lot of small talk because I'm just straight to the point. Like, I'm not trying to just have internet friends, or I don't go on the internet just looking for a friend just to talk to. There's always plenty of people to talk to on social media, so that's not really an issue, especially for a lot of men. There's always, you go on any app, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, there's always people to just talk to. When you go on dating apps, I mean, people are usually getting on there to meet up, to do something. So, uh, yeah, I would say these somewhat like top 10 questions, but you can, of course, there's always something else to ask. So let's get into it. Have you met anyone off this app? I usually like to ask that type of question because it lets me know, okay, if you have met someone off this app recently, that means you're somewhat actively dating or, trying this out, opposed to you meet like someone says, no, I never met someone on this app and I've been on this app for like a year or so. That kind of gives me the sense that they're just kind of bored. So they might be swiping right, swiping left, liking different profiles, kind of just because they have nothing to do. They're not really, they don't have really a serious intent on meeting. So that just lets me know that I'm probably not going to meet this person. So I'm not really going to invest a lot of time in the conversation or anything like that. Next question would be, do most of your first dates lead to a second date? That is an important question because if you meet someone and they just have a whole bunch of first dates and no second dates, it's either they have a bad choice in selecting men, or they aren't really cooperative, or there's something wrong a little bit. Now, there's been times I had first dates and they didn't lead to second dates either, so I understand it happens. But every single time, majority of the time, if you don't ever get to a second date, kind of gives me the feeling you're a little uncooperative and there's just something wrong there. So it makes me kind of want to dig deeper to seeing what the problem is, because you should get a second date sometime. How long have you been single? This one is it's not a make or break question, but it is a little alarming when someone says I've been single for 2, 3, 4 years, because that lets me know that you haven't been trying to date anyone. And on top of that, you feel like you have just unlimited time to meet whoever and settle down whenever you want, which isn't really the case for females. Reason being, as you get older, while you can get yourself in better shape, your body might look better at 30 than it did 22, because at 22 you might have been out of shape, whatever the case, and now you're 30 and you turn your life around and you're healthy and all this other stuff, but that's really not your prime anymore. And then you get into your mid 30s and you're really not in your prime anymore. So you don't really have a lot of those 26, 27, 28. You don't really want to waste those years just being single. Now, if you're just completely not in the space to have a relationship, that's one thing, but just to be single just because, that's a little, and you're not even trying to meet people, that's a little red flag right there. Most very important question is, do you have kids? Guys like to know this off the bat because it already lets a guy know, a guy that's looking for a relationship, of course, is he going to be a stepdad or not? This matters. If you're going to be a stepdad, it means that a guy, whatever his financial situation is, he now has to go into it thinking, I have to take care of myself, I have to take care of you, and I have to partially take care of your kid or kids. And then the situation becomes a little more complicated if you're not getting any help from your child father. So now you're probably, not all women, but a lot are, you're not really gonna have all the time to date because you're always looking for a sitter because you're not really sharing or co-parenting with your baby father. He's also not supporting you financially, so that can also cause you to work even more. And then when you get together, yeah, that man's income can combine with yours, so then you won't have to work as much. But that also means that man's income is going towards your children. And if he doesn't have any children, he's really going to see that as an investment. And if he does have a child of his own, that means the money that he's using for your kids is money that he could be using for his own child, which means, again, either way, it's an investment, but that's how the guy is thinking, like, okay, now this is a completely different situation. So you just want to think about that. And then with the kids, it's why didn't it work out with the baby father? Now, guys, I understand mistakes happen, but when I get stories such as my baby father, me and him never were in a relationship, we just had a kid, that's a red flag. That's really bad. That just tells us that you didn't really take relationships seriously and you just were just having kids. Or when you tell us how bad the baby father was treating you and you still had a kid with him, that just lets us know, like, so you just didn't care. So now we're supposed to be the good guy after you done let this other man just have kids with you or a kid with you just because you was in love or whatever. We don't like to hear that either. Would you like to have any more kids? That's important because maybe this man has one kid or maybe he has two, but whatever the case, if he wants another one and you're on the fence about it or don't want one because you already have two or three, that's really a deal breaker already. Like, if a man wants more kids and you're not ready to have kids because you already have some and you don't want any more, a guy's looking at that like that's not his problem. That's not, you decided to have those kids, okay? Like, it's not his fault. So that'll just kind of cut it right there. Have you ever lived with an ex before? This is a good question I like to ask because it lets me know if you ever even had that type of experience. Because if you've never lived with anyone before, you really can't describe it. It's either you've done it or you haven't. And if you have done it, then at least you have a good understanding of what it's like. So when when the relationship gets to that point, you'll understand that that other person knows what it's like and what it really takes to live with someone, and that is important. Like, some people who never lived with anyone before, they don't really understand the things that you have to go through living with someone and all that stuff. So it's just really useful information for a man to know that you were able to live with someone and do the things to make it work with someone in a household and all that stuff. Let's see where we at here. Do you currently work out or have some type of fitness in your life? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're weightlifting. Maybe you have some type of yoga class you do regularly, spin class, whatever the case. Guys just like to hear this because if a guy goes into a relationship and the female is not actively engaged in any type of fitness, that usually means that during the relationship, they're not. So that also means if they're not in shape now, it's really not going to get any better during the relationship because they're not even currently working out. So if they are already overweight, or whether it's a lot or even a little bit overweight, a guy is just thinking in his head, okay, it's really not going to get any better than this. So, and most likely, as with age and another kid or whatever the case, most likely you're going to gain more weight. So these are things guys are thinking about. Like, okay, I mean, this is pretty much as good as it's gonna get. That she doesn't work out, so they're pretty much just processing that in their head. So if you already have a great body, you don't work out, and you're blessed with those genes, that's cool. But if you're not, that can matter. And then moving on to, I guess you could kind of put like, do you believe in 50-50 relationship goals financially, really? For some men, this matters because that's the type of relationship they're looking for. So if you don't like 50-50, that's a good question to just get out the way, because a guy might be down for a serious relationship, but his idea of a serious relationship that works for him in his current life is someone that can go 50-50 with him, because maybe he's only earning 35 and he doesn't want to try to raise a family or take care of someone on just 35K a year. I mean, that's really not a great lifestyle anyway. But if he can find someone else that makes around the same 30, 35, then y'all combine each other's income. Now collectively, y'all making around 60K. Now you can live a somewhat decent lifestyle with y'all splitting all the bills. And a lot of guys are down for that, but a lot of females aren't. So that's kind of a problem we're already dealing with already, which I don't understand. It's really not that hard of a concept. Two people making around the same income, combined incomes, you can double up your money. You both can save collectively and also have a nicer lifestyle. But call me crazy. Are you still dealing with any issues from your last relationship? This is not usually a topic that's brought up early, but I think it should be, because a lot of females are, or dudes in general, are just dealing with things, but they're not gonna just openly tell you about them. But if you ask, it's good to know, because if your ex left you depressed, or they left you with some serious trust issues, these are things that are important to know. So going into this situation, they can be a little more understanding and just kind of probably gonna have to be more patient with you if you're still dealing with these issues. And they probably want to know also if you've seen some type of help, therapy, counseling, for some of these issues, because everyone needs help. So yeah, it's important. And the last question I had to round this out is, are you sexually active? Now, someone's most likely not always going to be honest, but it's just a good question to ask anyway. Especially the guys would like to know this, because guys like to know this, because if a woman is sexually active, we're both single, so we're both grown. To me, it's not a big deal. But if you told me you're sexually active, and then let's say I take you on 3 dates and you're still like making me wait for sex, but I just known you were sexually active with someone and y'all never even went out on dates. Like, you see what I'm saying? That like guys ain't going for that at all. Guys ain't going for that. I know I ain't, but that's really what they want to know. Now you can lie to them, and they can lie to you. They can probably say, "Yo, yeah, I ain't had sex in a while." But I really respect someone that can say, like, you know what, I had sex 2 weeks ago. To me, that's fine. Even if it was a week ago and we just met today, and you told me last week you had sex, that's good with me. I mean, that just lets me know you're honest. Whatever situation, obviously you have some type of situation, probably a situationship, but you got something going on, so that's cool. But if we're going to keep, talking, and then I'm going to start taking you out, I also would like to know, like, is that situation done with? And I also like to know that me and you can start being sexually active, because most guys aren't trying to wait after dates and dates and dates just to have some sex when you are already having sex without the dating. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense. So those are just pretty much the go ahead, let's get this out the way questions, so I can figure out if we want to keep talking or not. Definitely some good questions. I mean, there's always other things to ask, of course, but these are just straight to the point. And I hope you guys can relate to them. So that's all I got for today.